my name is Lauren, and today I will be teaching you how to make a feral cat shelter. Basically what these houses are used for is to keep feral cats that are afraid of becoming domesticated animals safe from harsh weather and keep them from dying in the wild. Basically what you need to build these homes is a 20-gallon plastic container or larger, scissors, duct tape, double-sided tape, it doesn't matter what brand, plastic, you can use drop cloth or anything, maybe vinyl. If you're making multiple houses, you want to make a template for cutting holes so the cats can get into the houses, and styrofoam as insulation, and finally straw. The first step of building a feral cat shelter is to cut holes into the plastic container so that a cat can enter the shelter. You need to make sure you have 2 entrances so that an animal cannot be cornered when it needs to get into the house. What you want to do is start out by making a template about 6 by 6. You don't want to make it too big so other animals can't enter the shelter. You can kind of see the line of the one I did here because I did it a little bit too high, but that's okay. You take a permanent marker like a Sharpie and just trace around the edge of the template. It doesn't really matter what the template is made of as long as you can trace around it without it bending or moving. That's why I also added tape to the back so I don't have to worry about holding the template. So it comes off. If you can't see the line, retrace it. Kind of ignore this bad one here, but this is the line you want to be cutting on. The next step after you have the square is to use a simple knife to cut out the square. Since plastic is kind of thick, you probably want to get a special knife to cut through it. I just got this simple Husky knife from Home Depot. It's like $7. All you're going to do is you can try to cut through by a sawing motion like you would maybe with, I don't know, a serrated knife. But it's kind of hard with a flat edge, so I found it easiest to just press down on the line and cut through and then pull it back up and move down to the end of the last cut you just made. So it takes a little while to go around, but it's a lot easier than trying to pull it through the plastic because it starts to hurt your hand if you're making a lot of these and it gives you a blister, which I have. So if you keep going around, eventually it'll cut out. I'm going to keep doing that and then I'll re-pick up the video. So as you can see here, I have both of the holes and you should be able to kind of see through both of them. Basically, what's the advantage of this is that any cold air that comes through either one of the entrances won't get trapped inside the house. It'll blow through out the other side. So the next thing you need to do is put the plastic into the bottom. The first thing you want to do is, I'm opening up a package of Scotch tape right now, so hold on. Is lay 3 strips of double-sided tape on the bottom of the plastic bin. You will need your scissors, obviously, to cut the tape. It doesn't matter exactly how long the strips are, just as long as you get down the tape. That one's kind of long. Alright, the next thing you do is just pull it off so the white side, so both sides are showing, both sides are sticky. So the next thing you're going to do is put the plastic into the bottom of the container. A good and easy way to measure the plastic is put it under the bottom of the container and use it sort of as a template. You're going to find that the bottom actually comes in at a slight V, so you might have to trim your plastic more than you expect. I already pre-trimmed this one, but you just put it in and out of the bin a couple times to get the right size. The easiest way to do it, I found, is to just kind of lay it on top and then press it all down at one time. Then you're just gonna stick it onto the bottom and flatten it out. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's not like you're wrapping a Christmas gift or anything. Most of the side stuff will get covered up by the styrofoam anyway. So you want to press it down, really make sure it's stuck on that double-sided tape. And then you continue to the corners. Obviously, you don't want all of this flapping around. And you want to tape it down to make sure the plastic doesn't move. The easiest way I found to do this is press the plastic down to make sure it's in all the divots of the bins. Then at the corner, all you're going to do is press down in the corner, and the plastic sort of makes this little natural like ripple fold, I guess you could say, and it kind of looks like a little cone, if you can see that. So as you can see right now, I've folded all the corners here. The easiest way to do it is just go around and take the excess fabric and fold it in. It kind of makes a natural fold, so don't worry if it doesn't look perfect. So all you need to do now is tape down the corners, and then we'll worry about the height and the plastic going over the holes. So take your duct tape, just rip out a good amount. All you're going to do is flatten the corner down so that you can tape it. See, it doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to be nice looking, it just has to be taped down. So now we're going to go to the next corner. So you're going to grab another piece of tape. And so see how maybe this, I didn't quite get all of this, so you would just kind of push it into this corner and it just kind of naturally folds. So you lay down this corner, press it to the side, and put a piece of tape on it and press it down. You want to make sure that the plastic though is nice and down in the bottom of the container, because if it's not, you might have a cat step on it and it slides out from the duct tape and it can cause problems. So if you find that there's some pressure and you can't quite touch the bottom of the plastic, all you have to do is pull the piece of tape off that you just put on and just make sure it's in the corner and then retape it. So I'm going to tape the rest of the corners and then we'll look at the next step. So as you can see, I have all of the corners taped down. If you find that one of your corners isn't taking in enough of the plastic, you can always take off the duct tape and redo the corner. You're actually right now just going to tape down the rest of the plastic, so you don't really need to worry about it, but I find it easier and I'm kind of a perfectionist. So. Alright, the next thing you're going to do is look at the plastic. Right now you don't have very much room between the outside layer and the plastic right here. So what you're going to do is take your scissors and cut this down farther so you have room to put duct tape. All you're going to do is just take your scissors and maybe cut down an inch on both sides. It doesn't matter if you cut the tape a little bit. And then this is going to be an awkward angle because I have to cut this on the side. But when you're doing it, you'll have no one filming you, so it will be quite beautiful, I'm sure. Come on. These scissors don't like to cut sometimes. Make sure when you're doing this you get some really nice scissors. You don't need it, but come on. So as you can see, that wasn't the most beautiful cut of plastic, but it's going to be covered up by duct tape anyway. After that, all you're going to do is rip out a piece of duct tape, a good size, and lay it over top of the edge of the plastic. It doesn't matter if it overlaps or there's a piece coming up like this, because you're just going to tape that outline. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll keep going with the video. So as you can see, I taped up all the edges so that none of the plastic is just like sitting there on a raw edge. It helps that when the cat's pressed down on it, like the plastic doesn't slide. So the next step is to start insulating it with styrofoam. I started with these really big boards I don't know if you can see them, from Home Depot. It was like $7 for 5 of them, or like 7 of them or something. And basically I just trimmed it down. The easiest way to do it is to just kind of measure the length of the top of the bin and kind of just cut it there. And then you have to shave down the corners on sort of a diagonal because the bin does come in at the bottom. So I already pre-cut this one and you slide it in. So of course you have to cut out a hole. So the easiest way I found to do it is, it's kind of weird, but you put your leg in the other hole you made so that this is flat on the plastic, and you make sure it's good with the ground, and then you just trace. Okay, sorry, I took my leg out. And you pull it out, and sometimes you have to look at how much styrofoam you have here. Sometimes you have a thick amount that you're able to let this part stay here, but sometimes it's so small that you can just cut it out like a little 3-sided thing. This one could go either way, but I'm just going to cut out the little tiny little sliver that would have been there. So you take your knife and you just cut along the lines you made. And then I always do this over a trash can because it gets like really messy. But you kind of just break it. That one wasn't too bad. Alright, so now you have this one. I already pre-cut the other one, so you have 2 panels to put in. So you slide the panel in and you line it up with the bottom of the container. Then you're ready to start taping. As you can see, I already pre-wrapped some strips of duct tape. It makes it easier so you don't have to sit there and rip everything, but you can do that also too. So the way I basically started out was I just made sure that the styrofoam was flush with the plastic. And I started on the corner and I put a piece just kind of on the end, and you're going to go through both layers, the plastic and the styrofoam. Pull it over and pull it really tight to make sure that the styrofoam is really, really, really close to the plastic. The other way you can also do it, which I find more effective just because it's like pulling the styrofoam towards the plastic, is doing the styrofoam first and literally just pulling it forward and then taping it down. You can do it both ways, but I like the other way just because it makes the styrofoam better. So you just keep doing that all the way around the square, I guess. And you don't have to do the side that doesn't have any styrofoam, like this part. You don't have to do that. If you ended up leaving a piece there, then you have to tape it and then do another tape over it when you put in the side panels. So as you can see here, I taped down both of the sides. It doesn't have to be the most beautiful thing ever just because it's for cats. But if you are a perfectionist like that and you want to make it look beautiful, you can. You can also use, instead of duct tape, liquid nails, which helps. So next thing you're going to do is put in the side panels. You're going to put them, as you can see, it kind of looks like a slight angle because since the box is coming in. So you want to make it a little bigger than the side so that when you push it down, there's actually some tension. This one's a little small, but this one you'll see. So I put it in and there's a little bit of tension on it, and that'll help it stay in. So the next step is to tape the sides. The duct tape doesn't really like to stick to the styrofoam very much, so I use packing tape. It doesn't really matter what you do. So let me get this out here. So if you just pull off a long piece and rip it. I rip it really weird. And then kind of fold the piece of tape in half. Kind of just fold it so it's not as tall. Kind of, now it's 2 pieces. You put one side on the one piece, and then you open, oh shoot, dropped it. I'm going to do that again. So you fold it, you lay down the fold on one side, and then you open the other half of it onto the other piece, and it should create like a nice little fold here. And then you have, of course, this excess on top, so you can just cut it with your scissors, like so. You can put multiple pieces on it if you don't think it's going to hold. Like right here, there's kind of a gap, so you could put on another piece of tape. So I'm going to tape the other sides, and then I'll come back. See, I taped down the sides here. Since I made the piece a little too small, it made it more difficult, which is my fault. But make your pieces a good size, and that won't be a problem. So the next part is to just tape this in. Since this one fits so well into the sides, all you really need to do is tape around here so there's not a gap like there is right here. So I just do the same thing like you did for the panels here. Put it on the styrofoam first, bring it around, pull it tightly, and then put it down on the side. I already pre-ripped pieces, so this goes a lot faster when you do. So put it down, pull it tight, and bring it around the side. So you keep doing that, and then I'll show you. So as you can see, I did this right here, and I taped both of the sides. So the next step is to actually use the clear packing tape again, since it sticks so well to the styrofoam. So all you're going to do is take a long piece like this and tape it over all of the duct tape you use, and kind of just use your nails to press it down so it like sticks to all of the styrofoam. So I already pre-cut the pieces, and you can just do this to all the sides. This one, make it bend around the corner. It's not that hard. Oops. See, like it doesn't even really like to stick to the styrofoam, but it sticks really well to the plastic, and the packing tape doesn't stick as well to the plastic. So this is what I ended up doing. So keep taping over it like this. Then do the side. So I'm going to do the other side, and we'll go to the last step. Oh, you can't really see it because the tape's clear, but I taped all of the sides here. So the last step is to just do the lid. Now the lid's kind of, it's easy but it's hard. I know that sounds really stupid. But basically you take like one of the long panels, or if you already had pieces cut up from making other ones, and you lay it across the top. Again, you want it to be tight with the top panels like you did with the side panels. So, let me get my knife out here. You measure it flush with this side, but then on this side you leave a little extra. So like, as you can see right here, it's flush with this side, and here's the end of it, but I'm cutting it over here. So, I make a little mark in the styrofoam, and I put it on the ground because I find it easier to cut. And then you just break it. So the next step is to trim down the sides, because it's about 2 inches thicker than you want it to be. But once again, you want to leave it a little wide so you can stick it in so it has some tension so that it stays. So cut about 2 inches off of it. You can eyeball it. You can always cut more. I've gotten pretty good at just cutting it. So now you have the container. And sometimes it's just too long and it won't go in, so you have to trim down the end. But it's easier. You can always cut off, but you can't glue it back on. It just doesn't work. So we'll see if this piece works here. And it does. So you stick it in, and it kind of it stays up by itself because you made it a certain length. So the easiest part is just, you can do it 2 ways. You can tape the sides here, or you can tape it here. If there is a gap, I would recommend taping it just so it helps from keeping the heat escape. So you just pull out a long piece of duct tape and lay it down. Oops. And I'm not even really pressing it down. I'm just using it for measurement. That was kind of bad. Alright, so you lay it down. And then I found this really helps it to stick. I put my hand in the hole down here. and I hold up the styrofoam from the inside, and I just scratch my nails. And you can see how there's kind of like a texture here, and it's because it's getting into each of the little crevices of the styrofoam. You can also do this with the packaging tape. I just happen to have the duct tape on hand. And this stays up mostly with just tension, so you're just really doing extra. So do the other side. You can put your hand in and then just and if you feel like, you know, this side, if you really want to tape these sides, you can, but you don't have to. Like, as you can see, it stays really well. You can tape it more to keep it on, but that's really it. Then you just fill it with straw, not hay, because if you fill it with hay, it actually takes heat away from the cats. You can also fill it before you put on the lid, but I just did it this way. This is actually the final step. I kept saying it, but this is really it. Basically, it's just covering the holes with plastic. I already pre-cut this one. Basically, all you do is take a sheet of plastic like this, measure it to the right size, and cut it. And then you make a cut down the middle, leaving an inch of the plastic still together, so it creates kind of this flappiness. So you just take a piece of duct tape and lay it on the top like that. And you can stick it to the floor and then just peel it off like I did. And then you want to make sure that the slit is on the middle of the hole. So I have to look real quick to do that. And then once it's there, you just lay the duct tape down and you do that to the other side and you're done. Thanks for watching this video. I hope it was useful, and have fun making your cat shelters.